Welcome back, everyone. In this video, I'll be working on several important parts of this build, including fixing the diffuser, applying primer, paint, and carbon fiber decals, and installing some really nice metal etched details. Subscribe to the channel for more scale model builds, painting tips, and detailed tutorials coming soon. I started preparing the diffuser. When I first did my open box review, I didn't realize that this part was actually broken, and I couldn't figure out what that extra piece in the box belonged to. Now that I'm starting to bring everything together, I finally realized that this section of the diffuser had snapped off. At first, I tried to glue the piece back together, but the connection points were extremely weak. The last thing you want is for something like that to break at the very end of the build, especially after everything is painted, decals are applied, and the clear coat is finished. So, I started looking for a way to reinforce that connection, and the only reliable solution I know is using stainless steel rods. I drilled two small 0.5mm holes and inserted two metal rods to strengthen the joint. It was a very delicate job because there wasn't much room to work with. Luckily, the backside will be completely invisible, so I was able to apply a little extra glue there for additional strength. After everything dried, I did some sanding to remove excess glue and checked carefully to see if any gaps still needed attention. Here, I'm using my low viscosity CA glue. I also like using this glue as a patching solution because it has a really nice self-leveling effect.
Any ideas?
For the best results, I'm using a CA accelerator to help it cure quickly. I'll leave everything to dry, then sand it down again before moving on to primer. Now I'm starting to work on the exhaust section. Before applying primer, I want to install the metal etched parts in this area. Next, I'm beginning the priming process before applying the base colors. First up are the front lights. Door handles. Side mirrors. Exhaust pipes. Now moving to the diffuser. Since the entire diffuser will be covered with carbon fiber decals, I decided to spray the primer directly from a spray can. This usually gives me a better self-leveling paint finish. The side runners will also receive carbon fiber decals later on. Here is the exhaust section for the rear. The bottom cover, and the front bottom cover. I will also be installing the radiator metal etched parts here later on. Next are the front splitters, which will also be covered with carbon fiber decals. Here are the front window wipers. This is actually a really nice addition to the kit because I don't have to deal with gluing tiny metal etched parts for these. All the grills will also receive primer, followed later by a matte clear coat. Now for the front radiator. I will sand down the raised details while leaving the recessed areas black. This should create a really nice and realistic radiator effect. I actually tried to film the base paint process, but black paint on black primer is very hard to see on camera, so I decided to skip most of that footage. The same thing applies to some of the smaller details. Black on black is difficult to capture, so I'm only showing some of the larger carbon fiber decals being applied and skipping many of the smaller ones. Either way, I really appreciate that the kit manufacturer included these decals. Making them from scratch would take a lot more time. The diffuser received most of the carbon fiber decals, including the sides and even the backside, which will eventually be completely hidden. After all the decals were applied and allowed to dry, each part received a clear coat. I'll show you the results in just a moment. The front light lenses also received a few coats of clear, and they are now looking much more transparent and realistic. The metal etched grills are now getting a matte clear coat. Now it's time to start installing the metal etched parts, mostly the grills. Here I'm working on the bumper and exhaust section. I'm installing the metal etched pieces that were painted with clear red. After that, I added a little more clear red and finished everything with clear UV resin to create a nice glass-like effect. Now I'm installing the exhaust pipes. They appear to be the same size, so I'm dry fitting them first, just to see how everything looks before taking the final photos. The result looks pretty nice, and hopefully you will like it as well. Next, I'm finishing up the diffuser by installing the grille on the back side and doing a final dry fit of the entire part. And here is the finished result. Now I'm moving on to the front lights. There are many very small metal etched pieces involved here, but they really make the front lights look outstanding. Here is the final result. Here are a few more pictures showing all the parts I worked on in this video. I really hope this video wasn't boring for you, and I truly appreciate everyone who made it all the way to the end. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon, and hopefully in the final part where we will finish this build.